Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session that is focused on how you can use GPT AI actions to automate email, document, and image processing in the Power Platform, in Power Automate in particular. My name is Gwenael. I lead the AI Builder product team. I'm joined by Maria, software engineer. And we have an action-packed program for you today. We're going to start by kicking things off by talking about the importance of documents in the enterprise and how you typically set up a document processing workflow in Power Automate. Next, we're going to show you how you can radically transform how you set up those workflows using GPT. In the second half of the session, we're going to have lots of demos, and we're going to show you even how you can go beyond documents to also process images, to use these AI actions that you've created also in Power Apps and even in Copilot Studio to configure how AI can easily process all those types of information. Let's kick things off by talking about documents and their importance in the enterprise. Now, some studies show that up to 80 to 90% of all new enterprise data is unstructured, and that is a wealth of information that lies in everything that we do in enterprise processes. Studies show that we expect that by 2025, we will have 150 zettabytes, and that is 1 trillion gigabytes, of unstructured data that needs analysis. And that is all of the emails, the documents, the images, the audio, the video, the text, you name it, that we use every day just to do our work. And in particular, the types of unstructured data that are used the most are, to no surprise, documents. A lot of times when we're building out a process or when we're building a task, we have a document somewhere in that workflow. About 80%, again, according to some studies, of our business processes are based on a document. And obviously, there's lots of use cases across different types of departments and even industries. For example, whether it's your accounts payable team that is trying to process an invoice, or even your support team may be processing an email. An email, in a sense, is a form of an unstructured document. But this is true across all departments and all even different types of industries. Documents are everywhere. So if you're still looking to catch the Gen AI wave and implement your first AI-based processes, I think you should look no further than documents. This is kind of an area where we have, first off, proven technology, AI that's here to help you extract and understand those documents. And we've come a long way from the early days of simple OCR to now having AI, with complex neural networks, with deep learning, and now even with Gen AI having the ability to just prompt AI to extract content from a document. We've come a long way, and we have all the right tools that are able to help you facilitate that process. Now, typically, when you're setting up a document processing workflow in Power Automate, it always will follow the same steps, right? It's similar to building a flow. You're going to want to collect where your documents live. You're typically going to want to classify them because you want to do different things depending on the type of document. You want to extract the data. You want to have a human validating it because you want to be in control of what the AI is doing. And then, of course, you want to integrate it downstream using the over 1,400 connectors that are in Power Platform and accessible to Power Automate. And today, we already have over 25,000 companies that are setting up similar workflows in Power Automate using these AI actions. And that's over 10 million documents that are turned into knowledge every month using Power Automate. And lots of customer stories that we won't get into today, but feel free to have a look at aka.ms/AI Builder Customer Stories, and you can see examples of how customers are using these tools today. And for those existing customers, the first things that we want to talk about is some of the new additions to the existing custom document processing models that you can access in the AI Hub. A lot of the capabilities that are built there are based on Azure, like most things at Microsoft. And our customer promise as part of the AI Hub is ensuring that all the latest and current models are available there. So we will be giving you the ability to switch your existing custom document processing models over to Azure Document Intelligence 4.0 next month. So expect that in the UI to come up, and that'll give you enhanced performance. It'll bring you new confidence scores at the table and at the cell level. So new capabilities there that are going to improve the accuracy of your existing custom document processing models. And for those that have never set up one of these workflows, let me show you a bit about how you would set that up. I have this as a video here so that we can kind of go quick and show you an end-to-end process. Typically, you would go over to the AI Hub, and you would build what we call a custom document processing model. So in the AI Hub, you have the list of all of the different AI models that are available. There are pre-built models that are already pre-trained to process a type of document, like, for example, an identity document. But you can also build your own custom model. And this is where you would see this option to use Azure Document Intelligence 4.0. And the way that works, it's a pretty straightforward process. You define the type of document that it is that you want to teach the model how to operate. And then you define the different types of fields that you want to extract. So you're going to be defining all those different fields. There's new additions here as well. We support now typed fields, meaning that we don't extract only the data, but also a type, like a date or a time format. We support signature detection, and we support different types of layouts, either fixed templates or general documents, which is an advanced neural model that works even with unstructured document data. We also have invoice customization. So this is a mix of the pre-built invoice processing model that's already pre-trained to extract invoices, but you can augment it with your own specific fields. So you don't have to teach the model all of the fields that you want to extract in an invoice, only the additional ones that are not in the pre-trained model. And then if you want to actually create your full custom model, you can do that as well. And the way to do that is here. You would define all of the different fields that you want to extract. You would then upload a sample size of your training set, right? Your documents, similar to how you would do this in a kind of a more of a pro dev type experience. But this is the low code version, but it still follows the same kind of principles. You're going to feed it historical data, uploading the types of documents that you want to teach the AI how to process. And then you would be going to label all of that information once it's uploaded, which is what is shown here on screen. And again, that's a pretty straightforward process that anybody can do. You're just essentially grouping the different elements of the document on the screen and teaching the AI about where these different items live. And again, this works for simple fields, for tables, complex tables, nested tables in some cases, tables that span multiple pages. So if you want to build a very robust document processing model for complex documents, this is still kind of the way to go. Training is a bit of a async process, so it could take a few minutes to train. There's actually a trained model that ends up hosted in Azure that we abstract for you, but that is there, that does all of the inferencing to extract that data. You can test it directly in this interface so that you can ensure that there's confidence scores associated to the data that's extracted. And then you would end up using that model in a Power Automate flow. And again, to try to make that as easy as possible, we've created templates of those types of workflows, like the ones that I showed earlier in the presentation. So you can easily get started and set up even more complex workflows that allow you to verify the validity of the attachments or set up a feedback loop so that if extracted data in production maybe doesn't meet your needs, you can send that document back in the training queue and have your model update and improve over time. And yeah, this is now the last part of the process, testing that the document works and extracting the data and having that available for you for downstream processing. So you may already be familiar with this end-to-end process, but for those that are new, this is typically how you do it. Now up to the news is we can facilitate this process with GPT because as you saw, we still have to label all of this data. If you have new formats that come in, you have to train the model again. That whole process can take a long time, right? And so we're excited to now have an AI builder prompt, AI actions that are incorporated directly into Power Automate. So they are generally available and you can access them either from the AI Builder connector or very soon directly from the Power Automate designer. And so this gives you essentially a mini prompt engineering interface that you can configure in natural language to perform AI tasks powered by GPT. And up until now, this has been about processing text-based information. But what we're excited to announce is that now we have the ability to add documents and images with this tool so that you can process not only text, but all of your attachments that come in, all of your documents. And I'm happy to have Maria here, who's going to show you all of the news there. Maria?
Thank you, Gwen. Hello, everyone. So as Gwen showed you, up to now, we have prompts that only receive text as input. So only like string variables could be in your prompt. But now we can also input documents like PDFs or images and put them right into your prompt. And what's going to be amazing is, let's take the example that Gwen was showing you with the classic AI model, the same kind of invoice. Now I'm going to input it to the prompt, and just with natural language, I'm just going to tap, please give me the, I don't know, shipping amount, the client information, all of that. I write it just with text. And when I test my prompt, we're going to see that it's going to get out all of that information just with that simple instruction. Let it roll, so it's going to test. And in a matter of seconds, you're going to see all of that information right at your fingers, like all of the different amounts with the currencies, everything. So I think this is very automatically, magically done. Again, a process that used to take me weeks, even months, now takes me a couple of hours. So before I had to define every single field, to create collections, if I had different layouts to tackle, like upload each of them, tag them manually, it was like an iterative process and very long. And now with GPT, it's just an instruction. I can also iterate accordingly, but it's very, very fast in comparison. So now you might ask me, but hey, Maria, like the prompt you just showed, it was text. How am I going to use that in my company? Like, I need something more programmatically. So we're very happy to announce that JSON output is now generally available. Thank you. What does that mean? That means that you can define your own structure. I mean, we're going to auto-detect it for you, but if you want a specific kind of output format for your prompt, you can have it now, and it's always going to reply with that same format, like we see in the image, in animation here. The same information, just in a way that I can parse, and that I can then use in my app and in my flow. Let's keep going. So we know that it's very hard to start in a prompt, empty text space, and just start giving instructions. At first, it can be a little scary. We're all still learning about this new prompt area. So we want to create a library. So what I like to think about it is, do you remember when search engines first came into the mix and we had to learn how to be fluent so that we could actually extract and find the information that we want? The same thing with prompts. So to help you get started, we have this full library with dozens of prompts that you can check, that you can like edit right in the prompt editor, expand it, augment them the way you want, and plug them right into your flows or apps or anywhere in the Power Platform that you want to use them. Again, all of these things, we're still announcing them, we're showing them, but we'll see them in a live demo later on to go in more details. So we invite you to explore the library and tell us if you want some other examples being displayed up there. And now we're going to pause for a while, and we're going to analyze a quote from a Nobel Prize physicist Enrico Fermi, who said, "Ignorance is never better than knowledge." And why am I saying that? Because prompts themselves, they're so powerful, but they can only do so much with the information that they have, right? They have been thoroughly trained, but it's like us, like humans. When I join a new company, I have a lot of capabilities, but if I don't have the context of the company, I'm not going to be able to perform at the level that you would expect me to have. So how do we give that knowledge, that context to a prompt? We're again very happy to announce that prompts now have Dataverse grounding generally available. So what does it mean? Thank you. What does it mean is that now you can plug in your Dataverse tables that have all the information of your business right into your prompt. And what it's going to do is going to use retrieval augmented generation, maybe you know it as RAG for short, and it's going to use that to give you much more useful insights. So in the invoice example, we're still in the same scenario. I have the invoice that I received, but I also have a table in Dataverse that have the product retail price that I have in my own system. GPT here is going to use that and actually be able to match those two and give you the difference of the prices or more insights of the thing, of the information that you have. And for those of you that already know Dataverse data grounding, we now support multiple tables. Before we used to have one. And while this was in public preview, we gathered a lot of feedback, and we heard you. And the whole backend team reworked the backend of data grounding, and now it is very much performant, and it holds up to the standards that you all deserve. OK, finally, last but not least, we're also very happy to announce that we have more models coming our way. So up till now, we have GPT 4.0 Mini and 4.0 that were available. 4.0 Mini is a cheap and lightweight, very fast version that you can use for everyday tasks. 4.0 is much more advanced, and it can handle multimodal input like images and text and PDFs. But now the 0.1 family is joining. So we have GPT 0.1 Mini and GPT 0.1. And these models are going to work for much more advanced reasoning. So if you have large data sets, if you have to calculate insights, to calculate statistics, to get like that analysis, deep analysis information of your input and your grounded data, it will be like the way to go. So if we were to recap a little bit everything that we have shown you so far, GPT is definitely transforming the document space. It has never been easier nor faster to build document processing models. So you don't need to train to give samples. You don't need to manually tag data. It works with any new kind of layout. And what I find most amazing, honestly, is that up to now, we were able to extract that information with the classical model, for example. But that info went somewhere else. Someone or something else had to use it. But now GPT, in the same single screen, like Prompt Builder, is also understanding your data. It's also giving you insights. It's being augmented with knowledge, and that is making it much more powerful than classic models. A small disclaimer, we have seen so far, because the technology is still evolving, some limitation for very complex documents. Like classic AI models are not gone. They're there still for a while. And they will work for the documents that have very complex layouts, like a lot of multi-page tables or very intricate layouts. So they're still there. Our recommendation for you is start with GPT, iterate fast, and according to what you might need afterwards, go to classical models if you need to. OK, we have talked a lot, Gwen. It's time to move into the demos, the live demos. So I'll pass it on to you.
All right, thank you, Maria. OK. All right, let's get to live demos. Everything that we talked about today is working code and in the product. So what better way to show it off than to see it live? So we're going to start off just by showing up the AI Hub and showcasing all the different types of capabilities that you can do there. We saw this briefly, and you likely know this already, but you can access all of these different types of capabilities. And you can also access what we call prompts, which is the way to send instructions to GPT to craft those AI actions. So now we have a prompt library that's available there. So you'll see different categories of starter prompts, whether that is you want to do language, text analysis, or content creation, other types of more specific tasks. We have dozens of prompt templates that are there to help you get started. And essentially, you can see the different types of prompts. For example, if you want to classify text, but you're not sure how to send the instruction to GPT, you can see the template. You can open it up, and you can make it your own. If you've never seen this interface, the way it works is just you type in instructions, and you can add variables, so text, now images and documents. You can add grounding data with Dataverse, and you can test it out so that it behaves the way that you want. And the way to do that, for example, here, let's say I have an email that I have and that I want to try and classify. I can just add that information directly here as my sample data. I can even define categories right here in the flow of work. Maybe I want to test if this is an invoice, a support request, a learning request, a sales quote. Let's see if GPT is able to categorize that text correctly. And yeah, it picked up and told me it was an invoice. And as you saw, that was really, really fast. This is what Maria was talking about. It's using GPT-4o-mini, which is really optimized for simple text processing. So that's the prompt library in a nutshell. What we want to show you next is how to use these prompts and how to add them to Power Automate flows. And again, let's keep going with this use case. Let's say that I'm a travel agency, and I have all of these emails that are coming in with an attachment, with an invoice, and I want to categorize them, I want to analyze them. The way that I would do that is by setting up a flow. In my process here, once I've categorized the elements, maybe I want to track them, for example, here in this Excel file. So here's a very basic flow, but just so that you understand the end-to-end process, you would be setting up an email trigger. You would be adding in an AI action here with this new node that's coming soon, where you can pick and choose different types of models, or you can even go create your own custom prompt. And let me show you here a very basic prompt for document processing. I'm going to give it here a new document variable, as we've seen, that you can just add in there. I've already pre-populated this with a sample document. Now, if you recall this layout, this is what I showed in the intro video of a model that I had to custom train and label in order to extract that information. And here I'm just telling the GPT, hey, extract these fields. If you see additional fields from the actual email, give me that information as well. And I can go ahead and test that prompt out. And it's going to give me that extracted information. And so it's pretty straightforward. I didn't have to train a model. I didn't have to label data. And GPT should be able to respond and get me that extracted information right away. Let's see it come in. And then I'll show you kind of how to run an end-to-end flow using these types of models. Let's see, it's taking a little bit longer than expected, but hopefully it will come in. Okay, demo effect, of course, but it'll come in shortly, I hope. In the meantime, let me see if I can actually run the flow kind of for you and have this extracted data come up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this end-to-end flow. I'm going to test it out over here. So I'm going to test it manually. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this email, and we're going to have the Power Automate flow trigger. And it's going to, again, pick up that information. It's going to run that new model, and it's going to populate the data directly into this Excel file. So once that email has been sent and has been received, we're going to see the Power Automate flow trigger and hopefully analyze that incoming document. And so there I have received the document there. So the Power Automate flow is kicking off, and it's going to extract that information, hopefully successfully, and populate this invoice file. And there it did. It worked. So it's coming up there. Maybe I had to refresh my prompt previously to get GPT going, but it was able to extract all of that information. And again, I didn't have to train a model or kind of do anything special, just in natural language. Okay, that was a very basic use case. Now let's dive into a bit more of an advanced use case. We saw how this could extract document data. This can also do more advanced things, like even categorizing an email. So in this flow, I'm in charge of a support team, and I have emails coming in, right? Here, an email is coming in German. So I don't speak German. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this email. It has an attachment. I don't know what it's about. What I'm going to do is I would love if AI would be able to help me translate that email, categorize it, send it maybe to the right team to process it, even draft an auto reply, maybe have me validate the reply before I send it to the customer. And this is something that would be quite complex to set up, but now using natural language, it's pretty easy. I can set up here a flow again with an email trigger. I can set up a prompt that's able to point toward those emails, those attachments. I can even augment this prompt with Dataverse data that Maria talked about. We have Dataverse RAG now generally available. So if I have a table, for example, with all of my existing categories that are just already there, and we know that a lot of you have very complex categorization, I can just point the prompt over to those categories, and it will now learn how to categorize using that input. Again, I can ask it to do lots of things. I can ask it to translate. I can ask it to summarize. I can ask it to identify sentiment, analyze the attachments, even draft auto replies. So things that you'd have to do with dozens of different models and take hours training, you can now just do with kind of one instruction. And again, let me just kind of show you how this works. Similar, I'm going to extract all of the information, paste it in this Excel file, and I'll show you kind of how that process is operating. So let's go ahead and test this flow again that I've built. I'm going to send myself an email again. And similarly, Power Automate is going to pick up that trigger once it receives the email. And it's going to start the process of categorizing, analyzing, and hopefully extracting all of this data here in this Excel file. So let me see if that email has come in. And yes, it's come in. Guten Tag. Apologies for my poor German skills. And let's see now if Power Automate was able to pick up that email, pick up that trigger, and start the process of extracting the data, populating it, and notifying my coworkers that an email came in. And yeah, again, this is typically something that would have been very complex to do, but now that is pretty straightforward. Using kind of just natural language, I can easily set up those types of prompts, like how you saw before, that are able to kick off this process. So Power Automate, don't let me down. Please come up and pick up my trigger so that we can see this live and working. I can talk about a little bit while it kind of runs what it is that I wanted to do. I have here a Teams channel with all of my different coworkers. And so I have here different types of categories depending on the type of emails that come in. So whether they're relative to payment issues, service inquiries, shipping issues. And so I'm just going to have Power Automate route it directly in Teams to the right team, depending on the category that GPT came up with. And then I'm also going to launch an approval process so that I can see it come up. Oh, I see a notification came up in the payment issues team. Okay, so my flow must have triggered. Let's see it pop up. Should be coming in. But it's told me that I have, attention, a new customer email coming in with a summary of the request. So it actually translated it from German over to English to me so that I know what the email is talking about. And it's already kind of given me an approval request. And let me see. It's actually already extracted the data that I had in my Excel file. So you can see all the information that was automatically generated by GPT. So it figured out that it's a support request for a payment issue. It was able to analyze the attachment. The attached invoice shows a total due amount, okay. It translated the email for me. Good day, I booked a trip with you, but there was a problem with the payment. Oh, it was debited twice. Okay, now I get what the customer was saying from German. It's going even further. It's going to summarize the email for me if the email was really long. It's going to give me a suggested resolution, verify the transaction details, and process the refund. Sounds like the right thing to do for a double payment. And it's even going to suggest an auto reply to me, and it's translated in English for me so that I know how to auto reply. Now, if you checked, basically there's a lot going on here, but I actually received an approval request where it's telling me that, hey, the AI drafted an auto reply approval for this email. Good day, Sophie Mueller. Thank you for your message. and it's personalizing the response and saying that that support request is underway. So that sounds like a great message. I'm going to go ahead and approve it. And essentially, okay, the approval was completed. And that's going to trigger the rest of my downstream process of a flow, which should be showing up here, but I'm not exactly sure why. But anyway, the end-to-end flow is working. And so that's going to actually send an email to Sophie Mueller in her native language. And here it is. Actually, it just popped in. And it's telling me, Guten Tag, Sophie Mueller. It's responding in German, because I've asked GPT to respond not only in English, but in German. And so there we go. We can clap for that. With that process, using just natural language, I was able to set up a flow that's helped me go faster in terms of analyzing emails and processing support requests in a much better way. Okay, we talked about Power Automate. I don't want to go there. We talked about building out flows. Now I'm going to hand it off. Oh no, first I have one more,
yeah, you have one more
interesting thing that I want to show you, which is 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀, which Maria showed us in the demo. So this is important because we have new models coming in. So we talked about 4.0 mini, we talked about 4.0. Now we have new advanced reasoning models that are going to come available very shortly in limited preview, hopefully next month. And what I've done here with this demo is I've actually hooked it up to Dataverse data. Again, this is going back to this support example. I've hooked it up to all of my call transcripts for my support. And I'm going to ask 𝗦𝗲𝗀 to reason over these and help me figure out what's wrong. Why are people contacting me for support? So analyze the common issues, maybe the sentiment, the time, and I've hooked up all of these data tables. And as you can see, the response is increasingly better than what we saw before with, even with GPT 4.0. You can have now advanced reasoning with math, showing me number of occurrence, depending on the support issues. It's going to show me average response times. It's going to show me things like number of escalations, the call duration. So all of the data that I had in there, it's going to be able to analyze it and package it to me in a format that's actually going to give me suggestions on how to reduce my support volume. And pretty incredible stuff. When I'm also building out this prompt, I can even have the ability to see all of the data that is accessible to the 𝗦𝗀𝗀 model so that I can easily kind of debug and ensure that I'm giving it access to the right data so that it operates on my business context. So that 𝗦𝗀𝗀 model, hopefully coming very soon, and it's going to allow you to build even more complex workflows. Okay, I'm going to hand it back to Maria, and we're going to do the last part of the demo, going beyond automation and into Power Apps. Maria?
Thank you, Gwen. Okay, so up to now, you've only seen these prompts being used in Power Automate, which is amazing. But they also live in the Power Platform, so we can have Power Apps involved in the mix as well. When you are in the editor creating a new app, you can add now as a data source your model. So here is a prompt that I created before. And the idea is that I'm going to create a simple app, lost and found application. So something that we use in big venues like these, or let's say in an airport, for people to report the things that they have found. So I'm going to go and run the app. So, hello. And me as a security agent or as someone that is going to log the information, let's say I found this, the clicker that we were using to pass the slides. So I'm going to take a picture of it. And what I want to do is well, what someone would typically do is have to fill in all of these details. What is the name of the item, the category, maybe something pretty fine, the number of items that there are, and other details that the object in question might have. Now I can use GPT instead to ask it to fill all of that information for me. So let's check it. Loading, and the idea as well is then take that info, that structured info that I'm going to get. Okay, so here it is. We have that it is a remote control, it is electronics, there's just one item, it is a brand Logitech. I could even add things like myself, like, oh, I found this at Ignite, even though that's not the airport, but anyway. I could enhance it. And then I want this to go into my database. So I can save it. And it will show up now in all of the items that people have reported already lost, which will map into a Dataverse table. So something that I want to show first is the prompt. How did I do it? So I indicated, like, you're an AI agent working at a lost and found office at an airport, and I want you to extract the identification, the category, the number of items, and any more details that you might have of this object. Then I also customize the JSON format so that it has these exact values every time, which is why the Power App is going to show them in all of those boxes. And it will fill up the table that I have here. Now, let's make it a little bit more interesting. And let's say I'm, again, there's Lizzie, someone here at Ignite that lost her first aid kit. I have it right here. And so she went and she reported it somewhere. And another person logged in into another table. So people that lost items, they want to put their contact information so that if someone ever finds it, we can, like, say, hey, come back and take it. So she logged it in. She logged her first aid kit. And now a person that found the item can take a picture of it. So there we go. It's going to log it because they don't know who it belongs to, like normally, just fill in the information. But let's wait for it. The idea is that GPT will also use that other table and map it. It's not doing it. Let's try it again. I feel that GPT doesn't like me being in the picture. Let's try it out. Suspense. OK, so now I have a notification that says, hey, like Lizzie at ignite.com reported this. Do you want to contact her and, like, so that she can go and pick it up and have her medicine or her important stuff back? So this, what is very interesting, is that normally you would do like some SQL queries maybe, or like connect your system somehow, but all of it is happening inside the prompt. So we had the first part that I showed you before, but I added 2 sentences, really short. I said, hey, take this table, the reported lost item table, and match the description of the item that you see, the picture, with the descriptions that is on that column. And if you do, please tell me who likely is the likely owner of this. So that's why I saw the message for Lizzie. So all of that in just one prompt that, if you see, is not that long, which I find like very magic.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's notify Lizzie because we want her to get her stuff back. And one final thing is that you could connect Copilot with your application as well. So if I add a Copilot control, I could even query by text the things that I want to find instead of checking them in the gallery or querying them somehow else. But I'm going to pass it to Gwen again to show you how that will be built.
That was awesome to see that we can now build very complex apps just with natural language. I'm going to show you how you can use these prompts, these AI prompts, not only in Power Automate, not only Power Apps, but also Copilot Studio to customize agent behavior. So here I have a very simple agent that I've instructed to help me find these lost and found items that Maria was mentioning. And I've given it access to the same kind of Dataverse table here with all of the items. And so I'm going to try it out. I'm going to say that I lost an item in the airport. Can you help me find it? And let's see if this agent, with the limited amount of data that I was able to give it, is able to find out what to do. So it's going to here scan the knowledge sources, the table that I've given it, with the Dataverse data, and hopefully it's going to find something, but it wasn't even actually able to understand the table. Maybe I have a data structure that's a little bit complicated and that the agent doesn't know how to parse because I haven't given it the right knowledge, the right info, right? Maria was sharing that quote. I haven't given it the right instructions. So it's going to give me kind of generic information about how to find stuff at the airport, which is cool, but AI could do so much more, right? And so the way to go configure that is to actually, well, one way to configure it is to actually build out a topic. And so I'm going to activate this topic that I've created that is using an AI prompt. And that's going to instruct basically the agent to look at specific data depending on the query. And so I'll show you how this prompt works. Again, it's pretty simple. In the topic, I'm saying if people ask about their lost and find items at the airport, I'm going to instruct the agent to look at this specific data table and to try to find the item for them. So with that additional set of instructions, let's see if the agent behaves a little bit better. So I'm going to say, I lost an item at the airport. Can you help me find it? And let's see what it does this time. Okay, so it's going to scan through those knowledge sources. And let's see, did I activate the topic correctly? Let's give it a go. Again, I'm going to refresh the agent. Let's try it again. I lost an item at the airport. Can you help me find it? Okay, it got into the topic that I had set up. So now it's prepared to help me. So the actual item that I lost happens to be black headphones. So I'm just going to type that in, and I'm going to see if it finds a match in the database. So I'm going to type in black headphones. And now what the agent is going to do is with that additional instruction, it's going to be able to point to the right database and hopefully help me assist in finding that headphone. And there it is. It was able to analyze that the headphones were found. They're in the database. And so it's helping me, giving me assistance that I can now kind of contact the airport to recuperate my items. So you see that if you give the model additional instructions, if you teach it kind of where the data lives and how to operate with the data, it's able to do a lot more advanced tasks and reply the way that you want it to. So that concludes all of our, thank you. That concludes all of our demos. I'll wrap up with some key takeaways. I hope that you saw that we have now new GPT technology that really revolutionizes how we can set up email, document, and image processing. We have data versus data grounding, which is now generally available, that can help you contextualize GPT, agents, and more to behave according to your enterprise context. And you can infuse these AI prompts across a multitude of different products in the Power Platform, whether that is Power Automate, whether that is Power Apps, or even Copilot Studio. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And if you want to start using these AI prompts, please head over to ak.ms/AI Builder Prompts, and you can find out more about how to build similar solutions that we showed to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.